All right, today we're going to tackle one of the biggest, most frustrating problems in all of Web3, fragmentation. We've all been there, right? Failed transactions, gas wars, those terrifyingly complex bridges. But what if the problem isn't really the chains themselves? What if it's the very way we talk to them? We're going to dive into a pretty radical new approach from a project called Anoma that just flips the whole script.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Have you ever been in a gas war just desperately trying to mint some NFT? Or maybe you've tried to move an asset from one chain to another, clicking through a dozen windows and just praying it shows up on the other side. That friction, that feeling that you have to be a technical genius to do anything, it's a huge problem. So why is it like this?
Well, it all comes down to a fundamental design choice that's been with us from the beginning. Right now, we are forced to give blockchains a super rigid step-by-step list of instructions on how to do something. The real solution? It requires a massive paradigm shift, moving away from telling the network how, and instead just declaring what we want to happen.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to dig into the problem, what we're calling the crisis of coordination. Then, we'll explore that big idea, the what, not how shift. After that, we'll peek under the hood of the intent machine, see the wild new economy it creates, and finally, zoom out to the grand vision of unifying this fragmented Web3 of ours.
So first things first, let's really get to the heart of the problem. The way things work today, this imperative model, it puts this insane burden on you, the user. It basically forces every single one of us to be a blockchain expert. Just think about making a simple trade on a DEX right now. You have to do everything. You have to hunt down the right liquidity pool, figure out the perfect swap route. Should I go from this asset to ETH, then to that one? Then you've got to play this game of setting the right gas and slippage. You're basically handcrafting this very specific, very fragile set of instructions for the computer to follow.
And this whole tyranny of the how leads to two huge, costly problems. First, you get fragmented liquidity. Your assets are stuck in one little silo on one chain, and you can't easily get the best price that might exist somewhere else. And second, you get predatory MEV, or maximal extractable value. By broadcasting your exact battle plan out in the open, you're just showing your hand to an army of bots ready to jump in front of you and take a slice of your money.
So, how in the world do we fix this? The answer is to totally reframe how we communicate with the network. We need to stop giving orders and start expressing our desires. This is the intent-centric leap.
And this slide, right here, this is the key. On the left, that's the old way, a rigid, brittle recipe. If one ingredient's wrong, the whole thing fails. But on the right, that's the new way. You just describe the delicious meal you want at the end. You're outsourcing the entire complicated cooking process to a market of professional chefs who compete to make it for you.
So let's lock in a clear definition. An intent is just a signed message that says what you want your outcome to be. That's it. It's not a command that has to be followed. It's more like a wish that you want fulfilled. You're not the micromanager anymore. You're the CEO just setting the high-level objective.
And this example just makes it so crystal clear. Look at how simple and powerful this is. You're not naming a DEX, you're not choosing a specific liquidity pool, you're not messing with gas. You are just defining the absolute, non-negotiable conditions for your state to change. Any path, any series of steps that gets you to this outcome is a valid solution.
Okay, so what kind of system can actually understand and work with these intents? Well, that's where Anoma comes in. And it's really important to get this. Anoma isn't just another blockchain. It's much better to think of it as a universal operating system for economic coordination. So let's follow an intent on its journey. It all starts when you declare your goal. Then, your intent gets gossiped out across this massive peer-to-peer network. Think of it like a big public bulletin board of desires. Listening in are these specialized actors called solvers, and they immediately start competing to find the absolute best, most efficient way to make your wish come true. And finally, the winning solution gets settled atomically on-chain, which means it either all happens exactly as planned or none of it happens at all. Your conditions are always protected.
Anoma's whole architecture really rests on three main pillars. You've got the intent gossip network, that's the decentralized marketplace for all these economic desires. Then you have the solvers, these hyper-specialized economic engines looking for matches. And finally, you have the shared settler, or what Anoma calls the resource machine. This is the magic piece that acts as a universal backend, the thing that can verify and execute a final solution, even if it has to touch 5 different blockchains at once. It's what unifies everything.
And what's so cool about this is it doesn't just make things easier for you and me. This architecture actually gives birth to an entirely new economic sector.
You get this competitive, professionalized industry of problem solvers.
A perfect example of this is a project called Barter. Now, this isn't just another aggregator that scans a few dexes. Barter is a macro solver. When it sees your intent, it is simultaneously looking everywhere. Public AMMs on-chain, private quotes from big market makers, and even searching for other users' intents that could match directly with yours. It's looking at all liquidity everywhere all at once.
And this is where it gets really, really powerful. Solvers can discover something called ring trades. So imagine you have asset A and you want asset B. At the same time, someone else has B and wants C, and a third person has C and wants A. A solver can spot this perfect circle, bundle all three intents together, and settle them in one single atomic transaction. Nobody needed to use a middle currency like ETH or USDC. This is a true digital barter economy running at internet scale.
This chart just lays it all out so perfectly. We started with Gen 1 aggregators, totally public, high MEV risk. Then we got to Gen 2 systems like CowSwap, which use private batches for high protection. But now, with Gen 3 and Anoma, we get to structural protection. And that's a huge leap. Because the how is figured out by solvers in a private competitive space, there's just no obvious path for those predator bots to exploit. It's not a small improvement, it's a completely different level of user safety.
Okay, and with this new superpower, you can build things that were literally impossible before. And projects are already doing it. Take Tetrix, for example. It lets you create an intent that says, hey, I'm willing to provide liquidity, but only if I can also atomically hedge away my impermanent loss risk. Or look at Encipher and Fairblock. They're building privacy tools that can encrypt the intents themselves, basically making them invisible to bots and making front-running structurally impossible.
So let's just zoom all the way out and look at the huge vision here. This isn't just about making trading better. This is really about healing the fractured, siloed landscape of Web3.
And this is so crucial. Anoma is not trying to be an Ethereum killer or a Solana killer. It's designed to be a layer of abstraction above all of them. It's like an operating system that can run on any computer hardware. For you, the user, you just say what you want. The Anoma OS handles the rest, figuring out the best way to make it happen, no matter if that solution needs one chain or 5.
And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures the massive economic shift we're talking about here. For basically all of human history, money was our best technology for solving the I have an apple but want a fish problem. But with the kind of computational power we have now, we can actually just find those complex chains of wants and settle them directly, without ever needing a single shared currency.
And that leaves us with this one last kind of mind-bending question. In a world powered by these intent-solving machines, money doesn't just vanish, but its role fundamentally changes. It becomes just one of many tools for exchange, a choice instead of a requirement. So what does a global economy even look like when any asset can flow into any other asset seamlessly, without friction and without a middleman? That's the future this technology is pointing towards.